Hi, and welcome back to Howlett's musical Masterclasses. And today we're looking at the mandolin and asking the questions that have been burning on your mind. How it's tuned, can I play it, and what I really want to. So the tuning is G-D-A-E. And I know what you're thinking, how the hell does that seem so familiar? Well, that's because it's tuned the same way as the violin, as the octave mandola, and the Irish bouzouki, unless the Irish bouzouki is tuned G-D, G-D, and certainly not like the Greek bouzouki over C-F, A-D. Although it actually has a lot in common with other instruments in those musical categories if it was tuned C, G, D-A. So if you imagine these two strings being taken away, extra strings added at the bottom, a fifth below, you have C, G, D-A. So the chord shapes and the progressions are exactly the same, it's just an entirely different pitch. And obviously you also have that the Irish banjo can be tuned G-D-A-E and C-G-D-A, but not the G banjo because that has 5 strings and that would be ridiculous. Although you could also think of it as being a guitar where you have the lower 4 strings E, A, D, G that have been restrung upside down, G, D, A, E, raise an octave and add octave strings added to it and also reduced down to scale. Or the bass guitar where you reverse the strings, raise it by 2 octaves and reduce it by 1/3. But you don't need to know this, and that's why I'm going to get straight into playing and teaching you the Howlett method. So basically, using just 2 fingers, you can play the 2 most important chords there are. The major chord and the minor chord. Or, as some people say, the happy chord and the sad chord. So as a result, you can play the entire sequence of all the chords in the major scale just using 2 fingers. There you go. Now, the other lovely thing about being tuned in fifths is that you can play scales in a way that's like repetitive patterns and using nothing more than a technique that you might have heard of that's called the wiggle and the shake. You can play scales like this. That's right. So you might have noticed that with the shaky hand, sometimes you're playing languid slow motions, and other times you're playing frantically fast. So languid and frantically fast. Now obviously this depends upon the time that you have a lot of the time. For example, the time I have here is 4/4 and the BPM is about 120, which means there's a lot of beats in the minute, and the little lines that you have along the music that are called squiggly flicks tell you how many you need to do in that particular bar at the time. So you might find yourself changing between slow and languid and frantically fast, and it's quite tempting when you're playing fast to speed up, and before you know it the whole thing's over and you finish a lot faster than you actually thought that you would do. A bit like the Italians. For example, here's an Italian phrase. Which may or may not be from The Godfather. But the question that I think I've probably been asked most of all about the mandolin is, that's all well and good, but can you make it sound like a pizzicato violin? Well, let's see. So yeah, I think the answer is probably yes. So I hope this has been of use to you. I hope you are all well and all your off licenses are open. I know mine certainly has been. I'll see you next time when we'll be looking at the 5-string banjo and the question that you've probably been too afraid to ask. I'll see you soon.